Well, hello, Benjies. Welcome to the Geekish Network, the BingeWorthy Podcast. My name is Johnny Randolph, and I am one of your co-hosts. I am a speaker, a trainer, and a podcaster. And I have with me an exceptional group of co-hosts. My first co-host, she is an actress. She's a writer. She's a director. I just call her a flat-out superstar. Say what's up to the people, Miss Courtney Scott, right?
Hello, hello.
And you may notice we've got a new face in the gig. We keep rotating all of these things every week. Everybody is something new. So I'm gonna let my man just tell us your street cred, your geek cred, Mr. Steve.
My name is Rakai Steed, and I'm not new to this. I'm true to this.
Okay.
Go way back on my geekdom. Been a blurred for a long time. So resident expert on Star Wars, Marvel, too many IPs to name. I'll just leave it at that. I'm looking forward to our discussion tonight on one of the many things that I love. So I'm ready to get into it.
All right. And we are the BingeWorthy Podcast. How y'all doing tonight?
Good.
Feeling good.
Good. Okay. Well, the premise of our show is that each week we will binge watch a television series, and then we come right here to the BingeWorthy Podcast to talk about that series. At the beginning of the show, we are going to rate it based on our unique binge-worthy scale. Then we engage in conversation. We discuss plots, characters, acting qualities, the visuals, the full spectrum of that IP. And at the end, we re-rate it. Now, sometimes, my co-hosts can influence us to change our rating. Sometimes they influence us to lift it up. At other times, it drags it all the way down to the flow. Now, speaking of our binge-worthy scale, it is as followed. At a number 5 is what we call a full binge out. That means this property is outstanding. It is dynamic. It is one of those properties that you do not want to miss. At a number 4 is what we call a full meal. A full meal isn't quite a full binge out, but it is definitely worth your time to invest in watching it. At a number 3 is what we call a mini meal. A mini meal, it's not bad. It's just not good either. It's kind of, you know what I'm saying? Courtney describes it as a bland-ass TV meal, and I say without all the Lyris seasoning sprinkled in on it. At a number 2, we call it a snack. A snack, it is one of them shows where, football season is over with and basketball season is over with, and there's nothing new on any of the streaming services, and all you do is at home watching boring-ass baseball. Nothing else to do. You got to be forced to watch it. I call it like an old bag of Cheetos left up in the cabinet, and you're too lazy to go out and eat, and you just Cheeto fingers on it. No nutritional value, not good at all, just eh. And at a number one is what we call a cringe-worthy. And a cringe-worthy is just some old bullshit. Why the hell did I waste my time watching that? So today,
Wait, Randy, I'm sorry to interrupt. I gotta go and grab something, but I want you to continue on.
Oh, you got some Cheetos?
I'm
go Cheetos?
What? Continue. I'll be right back.
We're gonna keep on.
Ah.
Today we are reviewing HBO's House of Dragons. There are 10 episodes. They run about an hour long. The premise of House of Dragons is an internal succession war with the House Targaryens at the height of their power, 172 years before the birth of Daenerys Targaryen. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to rate it, and I'll kick it off. I'll start off with to be the first person to rate it. This series, I didn't know what to expect after whatchamacallit left off. What was it called?
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. Yeah, when Game of Thrones left.
You gonna say what's it called?
Yeah, what's it called? I'm getting
this guy.
Game of Thrones. I started off loving Game of Thrones. I did not like the last season. When they said there was going to be a spinoff, I thought, why? We're done with that world, and I didn't know what to expect. I thought that House of Dragons, it had a lot of good things that I liked. I thought it was good storytelling. I enjoyed the visuals, the setting, those types of things. But it wasn't without its flaws. Maybe moving a little slowly, some more action in it. But overall, I did enjoy the project. So for right now, I'm going to start off with giving it 4 mil. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to delving back into the world of Westeros. So I'm going to transition it over to you, Rakai. How are you going to rate House of Dragons?
So I was a late comer to Game of Thrones. But then when I got into Game of Thrones, I fell in love with it, just loved it. But then, like other people, the storytelling took a turn, it jumped the shark, and I don't know what the last couple seasons was about. They just were just making it up as they go. They just, they wrote the scripts on napkins. So kind of like you, when they came out to do this, I was like, okay, this has got to be better. And it's one of those things that's kind of like, when they did the prequels to Star Wars, he's like, wow, we kind of already know where this is going. They took a slightly different approach in this. There were a lot of things that I liked. A little bit slow storytelling, but I liked how they developed the characters. I did like a lot that I saw. And I saw that over time, the episodes got better and better. And it ended really, really strongly. And I think I would give it a full binge out.
Full binge out? Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. So, Courtney, how are you going to rate House of Dragons? Uh-oh. I knew it. You gotta lick it. She's an actress, so she bought the prompts out. I love it.
Yeah, that's a nice touch. It really is a nice touch.
Do you want to provide a rationale to why you're going with the Cheetos fingers?
Yeah. So like you guys, I read all the Game of Thrones books. I loved the first 6.5 seasons mm-hmm. of Game of Thrones. I was not excited when I saw that they were going to be doing a new one. I take that back. I was excited for the first announcement because the first announcement was going to be about Aegon the Conqueror the first Targaryen to land in Westeros after he left
Valeria.
Yes, thank you. And so I was very excited to see Aegon and his sisters, to see that story. You know what I mean? And then they're like, I don't know, we canceled that one. We're gonna do this one, which is like 200 years, like 200. Really? Y'all couldn't go a little bit further back. For me, it was a little too soon, but I showed up ready to enjoy and get back in, jump in. I don't even know what to say. I guess for me, the joy of Game of Thrones wasn't just us being in this medieval world with the Iron Throne. It was more than that. It was, you have certain sects of people all battling different things. Like the North was battling because of the prophecy. They were battling the White Walkers. You had this magical entity that was unknown, yet it was lurking out there in the shadows. Then you had the basic conflict of, like, people want the chair, you know what I mean? Like they want to sit on the throne and take over the kingdom. And then you had like the Lannisters, Cersei and her brother, like hooking up and trying to, like, whatever that is, you know what I mean? There was just a lot of different moving pieces going on within the initial Game of Thrones and in the stories. This one for me is just one family fighting over a chair. That's basic. That's like basic medieval times with some dragons, you know what I mean? And dragons for a Targaryen, that's just like me having a horse. You know what I'm saying? It's not special. The dragons were cool, but they weren't even, like, with the exception of like the very last episode, and then maybe the last 13 seconds of the episode before that, the dragons didn't really do much. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and have my Cheetos.
You're gonna have your snack. All right, that's fine. So we got a full binge out, we got a full meal, and we got a snack. So this is 11, and we divide by 3. It's 3.66. So we'll round that up to a full meal. So right now we're sitting at a full meal for House of Dragons. Let's see if it's going to stay the same or if it's going to change. Okay. Courtney, you alluded to that you read the Game of Thrones novels, The Songs of Ice and Fire. This story was based on Fire and Blood, not necessarily the Game of Thrones. Rakai or Courtney, did either one of you read either of those books?
I did not read Fire and Blood.
I started and didn't finish.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's basically an appendices, and it's mainly what I did discover is that this time period is known as the Dance of Dragons, which, as you know, is the very last book in A Song of Ice and Fire.
Yep. And it's about the Civil War. And from my understanding it's somebody recounting the events of the Civil War, the Dance with Dragons. Whereas the Game of Thrones, or Songs of Ice and Fire, each one of the chapters were a perspective from some of the characters inside the book. So this one was more of a historian telling the story of the Targaryen dynasty. And it started from Aegon the Conqueror, and it ended up with, like, right around their decline from the height of their power. All right. So
I think it's kind of interesting too that the House of Dragons, I think we were kind of sold on it being about the Dance of the Dragons, about the war. And they took in the entire season 1 to kind of set it up when, and Courtney's right about this, we didn't get to see anything with the dragons. I mean, and I can appreciate it. So, I mean, season 2 better be off the chains, like.
And we're gonna talk about it a little bit with the pacing.
Because it was boring.
So I'm gonna ask that question a little later. So we know.
Okay, first of all, I think I gotta comment on this. Our eyes in the sky. Our showrunner says more house than dragon, and I agree.
So this is the prequel to Game of Thrones, and let's get it out of the way. So I want to know, how do you think House of Dragon did establishing its own identity from Game of Thrones. I'll start with you, Rikai, then I'll go over to you, Courtney. So how do you think it did, and how successful was it in establishing its own identity to be its own sort of show away from what Game of Thrones was?
I think maybe that's what I appreciate about this show, and that it kind of set it. I mean, I know where it's going. I know that it's leading up to Daenerys and, once again, her quest for that same, boring little chair. But I enjoyed how they kind of set it up. I don't know. I like character pieces. The same way I like a good action movie. I like to sometimes you just turn your brain off and you see some old wild BS and some old Fast and Furious stuff that don't make any sense whatsoever in the world. You're like, what is this crap? But I like good action movies. I like good character pieces. And I thought that I went into it thinking it was going to be more action, but it was a character piece. And I think it's just because I enjoyed some of the actors and some of the performances within it that don't make me downplay what I saw more.
Okay. All right. Courtney, how about you? How did you feel it did in establishing its own identity away from the hugely popular Game of Thrones?
I agree with Rikai. It definitely was a character piece. And I do think that they did a good job. They had a mission statement. Whether or not I agreed with their mission and the story they were trying to tell, I think they executed what they wanted to do. The one cool thing that I have to give House of Dragons is that in Game of Thrones, we got to experience the Starks. We got to experience the Lannisters. We got to experience House Martell, and what is it? The flower, Tyrell, the House Tyrell. So we got a lot of good family. Even like little lady Lyanna, she was the last, but she was a Mormont. We got the Mormont family. They were in different places, but we got to spend time with each of these key families within Westeros. The ones that we did not get was the Targaryen. We only had Dany. We have Viserys for 3 minutes, 3 episodes before he got himself shellacked.
Yeah.
And so that was the one cool thing, is that this was the experience that we did not get. They were the one missing piece from Game of Thrones because they had all been murdered before we ever got there. You know what I mean? And so I was looking forward to that. So I do think that they established, introducing you to the Targaryen dynasty. It's just, for me, I needed a little more Lawrys in the family.
Okay. So, we've talked about it a little bit. The pacing was a little slow for me, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I've had shows that the pacing was slow, and I was like, oh, I still dig it. And then there's been other things I was bored to tears. So I'm gonna start with you, Rikai. Do you think the pacing of the show was world building, like we were setting it up for something later on down the line and even at the end of the season? Or was it just slow and boring?
I think that, and like you said, I feel the same way. There have been shows that have been the pacing slow, and I was like, okay, but that was decent. And some I was like, I can't take it anymore. I'm gonna. This, I think that once you could get past episode 1, maybe even 2, then it was good to go. I thought that the time jumps, how they did the time jumps, how they played that was real interesting. Even introducing different actors that come in and play these same characters within the same season was actually, sometimes you think it would be a detriment, but I think it actually helped propel the story along and move out of that slow pacing, to really see what happened to these characters, to this family. And I think it's somewhat unfair to judge this first season, and who knows how many seasons we'll even get of this, to 8 seasons, 6 or so good, 2 terrible seasons of another beloved show. So, by the time season 8 of House of Dragon, goes along, we might have seen every single family, and they did a good job at introducing some of those families and some of the people in some of those families in this first season. So we could see kind of some of the ancestors of the Lannisters and the Tyrells and the people from the Vale, and they talked about Pentos and Bravos, and so we got to see a lot of different people, introduced, but we didn't get their full story, so they weren't really the integral part of the story. It's about the Targaryens, and they stayed on focus with that.
Okay. What about you, Courtney? World building or just slow and boring?
It was slow and boring for me. I do think that there was a lot of world that was built. I just think that the world that was built for me was not compelling enough to hold my attention or make me want to see season 2, because I didn't the action was sparse. It was a lot of conversation. It was a lot of feelings and very little even there was anger, but most of the anger came from Daemon. Do you know what I mean? Like, he was the only one who showed up. He showed up, you know what I'm saying? Like, and as a character, you put a lot of weight on Matt Smith's back, and he did a good job. He did his best, you know what I mean? Like, he showed up as the friggin', he was damn near the Targaryen doctor. You know what I'm saying? Like I respect the work that the man did. He is the reason I didn't say cringeworthy. Like, legitimately, he was the ace. He was the ace, and they put a lot on him, and he did his best. I can't take away from the acting. I do think that the acting was solid. They all understood the mission that they were given. I just take issue with the mission. I do understand, having finished the season, why Miguel Sapochnik was replaced after episode 2 dropped. And that was the initial showrunner. Yeah. Do I feel that, speaking to what Rakai, what you were talking about in terms of like the age jumping, I gotta disagree, only in the sense of, like, because of Rhaenyra. I think that every other age jump made sense. Every other age jump was explained and justified through the actions of the young character, and then for the old one. Rhaenyra was the only one that I felt like I needed those 10 years. I needed to know what happened in those 10 years, because the girl I was left with at the end of like episode 4 or 5, I forget when we lost her.
5,
was on her way to this queenly, regal woman who had a mission, who understood the plan. And then we got the other girl. She got 3 kids, and she's hooking up with like the dude who clearly, after the first baby, you really should have found somebody else. Okay. After the first baby, you really should have got a new lover. I'm just saying. And he should have at least been black.
Yeah, but didn't we figure that at
least? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you doing? Like, they just made her look
with the baby.
Let me finish. No, let me finish. It just made her look stupid. And Rhaenyra is not a stupid woman. She's not stupid in any way, shape, or form. You can't pass off a Targaryen baby. It didn't even have white hair. You can't after the first one. The first one might have been a mistake. You know what I'm saying? The second one, the third one, girl, bye. You just go on and sit down. Go on and sit down. The whammy has come out. He has danced across the stage, and you fired. Okay, like, you're just done with the game.
Her arrogance, though, like, she knew that everybody knew that after the first kid, and it's clear. It's clear.
Of course.
That ain't.
But how are they supposed to respect you?
Her husband is not the father of them kids.
But how are you supposed to demand respect? And she wasn't even demanding respect. If she just came in like, and if she had done that and came in and said, and I'm a fucking Targaryen, fuck you, sit down. No, she was like hemming and hawing and like, well, it's my family. And girl, shut up. You are the queen. Tell them fools to sit down. Either show up, you know the game, either do you, and I'm gonna do what I want to do. I'm a Targaryen, or you gonna whine about it. I needed those 10 years to find out what happened to her. And I just thought that the time dumps were so problematic.
Yeah, see, I
I
didn't.
say about that, but she was a queen and she was a princess, and there had never been a queen in Westeros. And so she can't come in there with the attitude that I'm going to do whatever it is that I want to do from
But
that
this is what I'm saying.
perspective.
She did that as a princess. In the first girl, the young girl, she had swagger. The young girl had swagger. She had zero fucks to give about anything. And then 10 years later, there was no swagger to be found.
Yeah, but I thought that was more because she relented. She, you know what I'm saying, her swagger left when she relented and end up doing what her father wanted her to do, what her duty was to marry the gay dude who didn't even want her to begin with. He wanted his little body. You know,
that's true. But I don't think that should have changed her character, her innate character. That's for me. I felt like there was a complete character shift.
But I think that was more so, but not only her relenting and marrying Laenor Valerian. I think the whole breakup and how she was jilted by her uncle, by Daemon, and then how she again was over pursued and jilted, and where he damn near wanted to kill her and Kristen Cole. And then
somebody should have killed him. Somebody
and then her falling out with Alicent over that. And her father didn't believe her. He sent her the plan BT. Like, she just like, whatever, I'm just going to do whatever. And I think her whole thing is of where Rhaenys was like, I got passed over. I should have been queen. And that was kind of always on her mind until she let it go. I think Rhaenyra was just like, man, it's whatever. Like, you know, she just,
and that's the problem. I agree with
swagger,
you.
like you said, she did have some mean little swagger in the beginning. I think her whole swagger during that period, during that episode 4 and 5, I think it disappeared. And you can see that in the storyline itself, just because nothing was really going the way that she wanted to go. I mean, hell, she would show up to the small council meetings and they still had her serving drinks.
Right.
She's the heir and she's serving drinks. Girl, go do something else. Get on out of here. Let the big boys talk. And she's like, man, this is bullshit. You only named me heir because you got mad at Daemon, you know, and now you done had a son. So now this whole shit is shaky. Just whatever. I'm gonna do me.
Right, and that's just what I'm saying. Like I needed those
swagger did not show back up until the last 20 seconds of the season, and then, you know, or in that last episode, I think in the season finale, that's when her swagger showed back up and shit got real.
Yeah, I needed somebody. Those last 2 episodes, I needed somebody to die.
Y'all didn't think
nobody died
with you know, a guy that's not her husband's and the kids coming out is not swagger.
No,
she had the trial.
Not at all.
Like, I know this is a farce. Y'all are trying to take my kids, who's not my husband's kids, his heritage away, and I'm here to fight for it. I don't know.
No, first of all, she didn't fight. She went in the room and she pulled the daddy card. She cried some crocodile tears. Daddy, I need you. Daddy had to get up off his deathbed and crutch into the room to save her damn life again. No, no.
When Vaemon got through talking, you know, everybody in the room is like, well, where's the lie?
He ain't wrong. Exactly.
Yeah, where's the lie?
Where's the lie? She was about to be done.
Yeah, and you're right.
If Daddy hadn't crutched in.
Yeah, and until Skeletor got up on the Iron Throne, the slave line be like, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, said, I don't care. We all know it's true, but don't you say that about my daughter.
Exactly.
And then, you know what I'm saying, the only G in the whole series, Matt Smith, Daemon.
He off with your head. Off with your, he didn't just cut it, he split it down the middle and then cut
I
it
knew
off.
that was coming. I knew that was coming.
Well, of course you knew it was coming,
keep
but
your
like,
tongue.
I mean, his whole swag, he never lost his swag. He stood there with his sword, let him finish talking, and then cut his head off. Like, if that wasn't, like, that was just funny.
He was so G, he turned into a Marvel superhero in the middle of the damn series.
He really did.
I hated the second episode.
I was so mad at that episode. I was so mad when he straight turned into Captain America.
John Wick of Westeros all by himself and liberated the whole kingdom. I was like, what the hell are we doing here?
I was like, motherfucker, you've been here for like 8 weeks, or was a couple years. You've been chilling for 2 years, bitch. If you could have done that, why didn't you do it 2 years ago? What?
That is what
it wasn't even the dragon. It wasn't even the dragon that took people up. It was him running across the daggone beach with a sword.
Mark says a one-man army. He did. He killed up everybody. I was like, this dude's John Wick. He's John Wick with a sword in Westeros. He just killing up everybody. That was the part that made me mad. I did not like that part.
But I like that stupid shit.
It made me mad. But I tell you what didn't.
He got so pissed at his brother. I've been fighting this war, me and Corliss, and been fighting this war. We done got passed over. We've been fighting this war for years, and now you want to come with some help? Screw that. I'm gonna come up with a plan right now. I'm gonna pull my Batman. I'm gonna go on my utility belt and pull some Batman shit out.
Now that I've had
enough time to study my opponent.
I'm gonna call in the Avengers. They're gonna come. They're gonna be waiting in the wings. They're hiding in the clouds. They're gonna come in. They all got dragons. Everybody about to die.
He just pulled out a gun and just started shooting people.
But you know, right? He should have. Yeah. But when I realized Damon was a G, was the true G, like he was the truest G of them all. Honestly, I wanted him to kill everybody. If Damon had ended up on the Iron Throne, I would have given that shit a full binge out. If that's how the season ended with him on the throne, it would have been. No, but let me finish. When I knew he was a G, when he walked out into that field and his wife rode up on her horse and he didn't lift a hand.
Didn't do shit.
He didn't do shit, but he scared the motherfucking horse. He scared the horse was scared of him, and he threw that bitch for no good and goddamn reason. I was like, if this ain't some shit, this motherfucker didn't do anything. He just stood there.
As a matter of fact, he was so cold that he was just gonna walk off and leave her, and you know what I'm saying, just paralyzed. And then she started talking shit, and he's like, you know what?
You got something? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
I love when they were in the throne room.
This rocks for you.
This rocks for you. I remember her brother or something tried to front him in the throne room, and he's like, okay, you don't want this action. He was about that. He was about that work. You about to get this smoke.
Yeah.
He was a G the entire season.
He really was.
Okay. Let's talk about his brother. Let's talk about his brother, King Viserys, ruler of the 7 Kingdoms, head of the House Targaryen. Rakai, what do you think about his abilities as a king?
All right, so because I'm going to answer your question, his abilities as a king, he was bullshit. He was a terrible king. However, I think his acting was superb. I think his acting between him and Matt Smith, the 11th Doctor, I think them two men held this shit together with Band-Aids and duct tape.
And he was the first Targaryen doctor.
Yes. Right. I think his acting was superb. I think it was interesting to see even like you saw Daemon get perplexed and get angry later with Rhaenyra because of the ineffectiveness of Viserys. But Viserys had this other stuff going on in his head, basically, which was the prophecy that led to Game of Thrones. About the White Walkers and the whole shit about that. Which I really, really do not understand why that shit was a secret. Like, it seems like everybody in the Targaryen family should have known that. Like, this is what's happening. Like, everybody should know that.
Everybody, which is why Danny shouldn't. I mean, based on this history, Danny's ass should have like fucking known about the damn dagger. Yeah, she shouldn't have been so reluctant. She shouldn't have been so reluctant to like, oh, that's not real.
Yeah, I don't understand. I think he played the part of that character to be a very wishy-washy kind of, I want peace, but I'm indecisive. I think he played that part very well. And I think I think that's what kind of made you really root for Daemon, even though Daemon is not a good guy.
I was going to ask about the arc later
on. Daemon is not a good guy. He's a degenerate. He's really a piece of shit.
Really is.
He's really a piece of shit, but he was a G. He's
the bad boy. He's the bad boy of his generation.
Yeah.
All the women love the bad boy.
Yeah. Yeah. She even got choked out for it. You've been loving him since you was a child and some R. Kelly shit.
Yeah,
but that's true. That part
with all the Medea Thanksgiving speeches about the family needing to stick together and stay together. I was like, wow, this show is really interesting. It's like we got an old king who his wife dies and he marries a younger one. An uncle that's molesting his niece. We got like these.
He didn't touch her though.
Hold on.
He didn't molest her.
Not even the old king. Yes, his wife dies. He ordered her death.
Huh?
He ordered her death.
Wait.
No, Daemon molested Rhaenyra.
No,
she's a child and he's a grown ass man. What do you mean?
She was 17.
Exactly.
So y'all got your uncles molesting 17-year-olds and y'all cool with that?
In medieval times?
Did you see all these people with white hair?
Listen, this is first of all, that is that's their way. It's the Targaryen way. And it's back in the day, medieval times, this was acceptable. Actually, she was 14 because she told her son, I was 4 and 10 when I married what's his jig and all that stuff. So she's 14. By 14, most girls, and I'm not saying it's right, Randy, your ire and your rage is justified. But at that point in time, there were 12-year-old girls with 3 kids. Okay. So I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that's what it was.
Yeah. And if you outraged like this, like, how'd you even get past Game of Thrones? I mean, the Lannister twins was twins and doing each other like.
Yeah, I don't know. I got triggered when I saw Viserys walking with the little black girl when she was like 11. And I was just like, that's the creepiest thing that I've ever seen. And they were talking about marriage, and he just
that is historical. That is happening in Kansas still. I mean, there are still places within this country that having a child bride. I mean, they don't want it to happen, but there are times
in the mountains of West Virginia they get down like that right now.
Okay, not in actual Kansas. I don't nobody in Kansas come for me. But I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? Like in the back of the woods, things are happening, Randy.
West Virginia.
I understand. It still don't make me less triggered by it.
I 100%. You are justified. It is not right. It is all the way wrong.
Yeah.
It is all the way wrong. We agree with you.
Yeah. But I can see R. Kelly watching this in prison, be like, yeah, I love this damn show.
You know what I'm saying?
He's like, this based on a true story. Like, I don't see nothing wrong with this.
He was like, how they know my story back then?
Right.
He's in there writing a new song.
Yeah, he's trying to sue right now for
he's writing a new song.
He's doing
Targaryen love.
Like, get my lawyers
on the Targaryen love.
This is my story. I can't believe they did.
I got that T-Love going. Love me like a Targaryen.
Like, I'm back, bitches. I'm about to get all this. He's doing Warner, Discovery, HBO, all of them.
But anyway, but truly, I forgot the question.
I don't know either, so we're moving on.
Love me like a Targaryen. I'll be singing that tomorrow too, for real. The
Sir
Tila.
Otto. Sir
Oh, you were
Otto
asking me
Hightower.
about the act. Were you talking about the acting, or you?
I was asking you about what
Viserys?
you thought about Viserys' ability as a
Viserys. I agree with everything Rakai said. I think Patty Constantine, the actor, did a great job. He was absolutely wonderful. He was irritating because he was that king, kind of like he was like the antithesis of Robert Baratheon.
Right.
They were like two halves of the same whole. Robert did not want to be, he didn't want to be king. He wanted to get revenge because old dude got his girlfriend and he was mad about it. So then he had to sit the throne and was like, just like gouged himself to death and ate and drank and banged his way through being a king. Viserys, on the other hand, he was like, I don't really want to be king. I got crowned because they didn't want my cousin to be king, be queen. And okay, I guess I'm gonna try. You know what I mean? Like this dude, I really kind of felt bad for him because he got shafted into the job, but he was doing his best to try and be a good king. And I think he was a good king. But they always talk about Targaryens are one way or the other. Either they're really soft and nice and kind, or they fucking nuts. There is no in between. There really is no in between. And I think that he was on the soft side. He was like the maester. He was like the grand maester on the wall. Aemon, Aemon, whose name was Aemon Targaryen. So I'm like,
well, I mean, they
I'm like, how long you been there?
Yeah, they recycle the hell out of names.
I know they do. But yeah, I just I don't know. He was all right. I was ready for him to die.
I thought
he got on my last nerve.
Led to where we are, like right now. I don't feel like he should have sent or allowed whatchamacallit to go away. I don't feel like he should allow Rhaenyra to go away and be a Dragonstone. I feel like she would have been better served in Westeros, learning how to be an actual queen. And to Rakai's point earlier, right, when she was supposed to have been learning about war councils and strategies and all those things, they were sending her out to be a cupbearer and sending her out of the room. So it was like those kind of decisions, I thought they had consequences.
No, but you had to look at that. That all goes back to the type of king that he was. See, the thing is, when he made that decision, it was kind of a knee-jerk decision to say, screw you, Daemon. He didn't have any sons at the time or whatever. As a matter of fact, he really didn't even see himself still having sons. The whole him getting married again and having sons, he didn't even see it.
Yeah, he was bullied into that. You know, they're like, you have to do it.
You guys
and at that point, that's his rebellious move.
I get it, but if you're going to make the decision, you've got to stand on the decision.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think necessarily her being a cupbearer was a terrible thing because she was in the room. If it was a son, no. If he had a son and he was the same age, I don't think the son would have had a seat at the table. I think the son would have been in the room. He may not have been pouring wine, but he'd have been off to the side somewhere.
I did, and I guess I disagree.
But really, you got to look at that too.
She should have been there at least listening, not going and running errands back and forth. And I thought those were bad decisions that he made. I thought he was a very weak king, and I thought the decisions that he made left to this kind of struggle for power that we have right now.
What other errand did she do?
As soon as his son was born, that shit was in the air.
It was. The minute the boy was born, it was a wrap. Like the fact that he stood by her was shocking. But in terms of like her running errands, he didn't tell her to take that dragon and go out there and break up Daemon and the first time to break up Daemon and Otto when Otto went out there because they said Daemon took the mistress out to Dragonstone. Nobody told her to go out there
because
I thought that was of her own accord. I thought
that was her own accord.
That was to get back her brother that when Aemma died, her brother that died in stillbirth, that was his egg. That was the egg that was promised to him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I thought that was dope. I thought that was one of her dopiest moves.
It really was. That's what I'm saying. But it wasn't an errand that like Viserys sent her on. So I don't know what errands. She didn't do anything.
I felt like they were always sending her out of the room and not giving her the respect that.
Yeah, like, and even when she went to Dragonstone, all of that was
But
merely because
I
when
talk about
she
on the Dragon Con, I'm talking about later. I thought she should have been in Westeros because you have political movement going on with Alicent holding down the position and then her father being in charge. And she's nowhere, and Rhaenyra is nowhere near Westeros. That allowed them to consolidate power when Rhaenyra had no control and no visibility into what was going on.
and that's because she's walking around with 3 huge ass chinks in her armor.
Yes.
At
Yes.
any
They
minute,
needed
her
her
whole
out of
shit
sight.
can come down crumbling.
So
They
then
would have killed those
her in
kids.
Dragonstone,
Somebody would have killed those kids. Somebody would have.
her in Dragonstone, how does that empower her either?
It protects her because out of sight, out of mind.
Absolutely.
Mainly not even her, but the kid.
Out of mind means
Out of sight, out of sight, out of mind in
She's
terms
still the
of
heir.
like
She's still the
power.
cupbearer. You
They
can't say
know
shit
she's
about
still
her.
the heir, but they can't see those little raggedy kids sucking off her boobie. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody knows that those are not her husband's children.
To be the queen, the kids
To say that her kids look like they were some strong children was the best use of an entendre I've ever heard.
I just don't see how that strengthened her position with her not being in court.
It didn't matter. Her position was fucked.
Yeah.
Her position was the only thing that they had going for her was the Bannermen saying that they gave their word. But when the minute he brought Otto Hightower back as his hand, shit was done. It was done.
Just like when Alicent came in there and said, wait, y'all was already plotting to put Aegon on the throne anyway, whether I said shit or not. They were like, it's a wrap.
She would have had more visibility if she would have actually been there.
No, she would have been dead if she'd have been actually been there.
She would have been dead.
Like when they locked Rhaenys in the room, Rhaenyra and the kids have been dead. And they'd have sent the whole posse. They're like, the only problem we got is Daemon. Definitely crazy.
I don't agree with you guys.
No, she would have been dead. Randy, that is hopeful optimism.
I'm not being hopefully optimistic. I feel like she would have had a better visibility into what was going on.
She wouldn't have lasted that long.
Able to counter many of those moves that he was doing because she didn't trust him to begin with.
Counter what moves? It was just she just would have had more ire, more anger, and people would have turned on her sooner.
I don't agree. All right, but we can move on. I just
I don't know. That's the one thing But Alicent, can we talk about Alicent? Because she's irritating.
Really?
Hell yes.
I thought the end she proved to be a very capable potential ruler. In episode 9, in episode 9, I thought she held it down.
Wow.
Episode 9. Okay.
Wow.
I did not
when
have
they went through with plotting the whole coup to take over and shit.
You mean the episode they wasted the entire 52 minutes searching for Aegon and he was under a rock?
I thought her moves were good. I thought she could have been even the queen the woman who could have been the queen. She told her that, like, you could have been queen had you only had the vision to see that far. She said a really dope lines like, you don't want freedom, you just want windows in your prison. And I thought that was a very good summation of what Alicent was and potentially what she could have been. I thought she found her son. I thought she stepped up with her father. I thought she made a political alliance with that crazy dude. I thought she made a lot of good strategic moves.
Okay, I thought that first of all, that comment that Rhaenys made to her was a backhanded compliment. Like, you could have so much, but all you want is windows for the prison that you're in. Like, you've accepted that. You don't even understand how badly you're playing the game when you could be this, but you're choosing to be weak. So it wasn't like it wasn't her like praising her per se. And she's like, but in terms of like the wannabe Littlefinger, who would Clubfoot. We'll call him Clubfoot, not Littlefinger, but Clubfoot. Larys, whatever, who turned on his own daddy and brother. She's slow. She's slow. Like, first of all, he is playing her. He's playing both sides against the middle, which is exactly what Littlefinger would do. She doesn't even realize. She thinks she keeping him control with his feet. Well, she don't with her feet. Her daddy got feet.
Guess I didn't see it that way.
Her daddy got feet too. You know what I'm saying?
I don't, I
Daddy been turning them toes out too.
I thought it was the fact that she was an actual like princess and he could get her to do that. I don't think the same effect works.
Oh man, she was paying him in feet.
Yeah, he was rubbing one out, looking at her toes. He wasn't even touching her toes. Like,
and I thought that was very like
it's weird, dude.
Feet, it wasn't the big of a deal. Like, right?
It's a weird dude.
But daddy got toes too. This is what I'm saying. She doesn't even realize the dude is like visiting other toes.
I guess I saw it differently. I saw it as being toes.
Yeah, but they could have probably just brought Viserys' toes to him. Viserys' toes probably detached and.
All right, so we running out of time. Y'all got anything else y'all want to talk about?
Viserys had on the Phantom of the Opera mask.
Can we talk about like Dr. Manhattan? What's his Corliss. Oh. He's Dr. Manhattan. You know what I'm talking about?
We're getting photo bomb. We got a bond over here.
Shit.
I thought he did a good job. I was just like, I felt bad for him. He and Viserys were like two halves of the same whole. Like, I just felt bad. Like, there was too much alikeness in every single character. Mm-hmm. Like, he didn't care that those little kids weren't his and his grandkids. And I respect him. You know what I'm saying? He wants to stand by his son. Viserys is the same way. Just they're both kind of like, the difference in the sea snake is that he actually he was a badass. He truly did have some swagger and he found his swagger again. You know what I mean? Like, but he just wanted to like protect his kids. And then you had like the first queen who dies in childbirth. Then you got the second queen who Daemon's wife, daughter of Corliss, dies in childbirth and chooses to like, get burned up, her and her baby. And then you got another like terrible, you end with a terrible childbirth and Rhaenyra gives birth to a stillborn baby.
Did we even need that scene? Like she reached down there and pulled the shit. Like what? I was like, listen.
She just broke the baby's neck trying to get it out. Like
yeah, it's like
we didn't need that.
I understand why she refused help. I didn't get it.
Because I think she knew that the baby was gone.
And then maybe because she saw that's how, like even when they asked Daemon, did you want the maester? That's how her mama went down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Viserys said, do what you can. See, if that's my boy. That's my son. See if you can get it out, She tried. She
was like, I'm not going out like my mom. Like that was basically her inner monologue. I'm not going out like that.
Not only that, my mom and Daemon's
first wife. Exactly. Yeah. So it was just like, there were so many things that I feel like the writing room is just, did y'all really even try to find something new? I mean, maybe that was in the book. I didn't read it, but there's so much sameness. George R.R. Martin, I have read all his other books and there is not that much sameness in that man. He's just, as a writer, he doesn't do anything again. So for you to have 3 iterations of a terrible childbirth, I just don't think that was written. I think that was lazy writing for within the season.
But I think too that was kind of one of those things that foreshadowed to that there had to be eventually a woman who led the Targaryen family because all these sons kept going to stillbirth. I think that's just the only trope that they were trying to push because I don't understand why we saw 3 horrible stillbirths in this one season. Like in the last one, that was some gruesome shit. Like that was almost, I was like, what's this, an episode of Saw? What the hell am I watching?
Yeah, that was her first one with the mom was terrible.
She did stillbirth.
Huh?
Mark in the chat is saying in the book she did stillbirth.
And the first 2 were the same?
I don't know about the first 2.
And Rodney
Thank you, Mark.
Says also a consequence of incest. So I guess there's that.
That's there. Oh, there is that.
That's what I was.
There's well, yeah, but I mean the lines are too close. It's an uncle and a niece, you know what I'm saying? But what was I gonna say? I mean, Cersei and Jaime didn't have any problem. I guess we should probably talk about the final moment.
Yes.
Because I fast forwarded through most of the episode in order to get to that final.
Do we think he intentionally meant to kill?
No.
I don't. No, I think he's just dumb. I think there's no reason you should have been chasing him in the first place. You were just being a punk.
Well, I mean, he's been an ass and a bully for most of the time too, you know, and ever since he found his own swagger and he took Vhagar, he's been an ass.
He's been an ass. It's gonna take Daemon to take him out.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I've read parts of Dance of Dragons, and that is coming. I mean, hell, he looks like Daemon's clone. He looked like he's one of Daemon's damn kids anyway.
He really does.
Rhaenyra's other kids.
Did you see Aemon's face when Daemon took off? All these names are so. Daemon cut off Daemon's head.
Yes.
And Aemon was standing beside him. He looked so damn giddy. He was like, "Oh shit, this is who I've been waiting for."
Yeah,
like he was like he'd been waiting for. Like he looks like he'd been wanting to match swords with Daemon just to see. He looks like he's been waiting for a good challenge.
Yeah,
or something.
Yeah,
you know, because and just like you said, you know, his brother's gonna be the damn king. His brother's not worthy of shit.
Is his brother? Does he make it? I just had a suspicion he doesn't make it that, or doesn't retain the.
I don't remember. Here's the thing. I
do know where this goes.
You do know?
Yeah, the line of succession to get to Daenerys.
Oh, it's Rhaenyra.
Comes through Rhaenyra.
Comes through Rhaenyra and Daemon.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think he makes it that long.
Well, there is the second Aegon. I don't think lasts very long. I think he dies young. I thought. I think but I'm not. I'm not sure.
Aegon the third comes through Rhaenyra's line.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
He
lasts for a long time. But if anybody, I watched this meme from I think it was season 3 of Game of Thrones when Joffrey was taking Marjorie through the Targaryen history and showing her like the tombs and things like that. He gives away, if anyone wants to know, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do that to you just in case you don't remember. He gives away the fate of
Rhaenyra,
the ruler of Rhaenyra. Yeah.
And I feel like they talked about Rhaenyra in Game of Thrones because I thought I read
they did.
Small things mentioned. But hey, we got to go ahead and rewrite this. So we're gonna go ahead and rewrite it.
Rodney did hit the button and wrap it up. Wrap this shit up.
Courtney, you started last this time, so we'll let you go first. How are you going to rewrite it? Oh Lord! All right. I am going to keep.
Where's my damn Cheetos?
I'm going to keep my rating at 4 mil. Ricard, bring us on home. How are you going to re-rate House of Dragons?
I mean, to be honest with you, I think honestly it's probably more a full meal than a full binge out. I just think, you know, in first take, I really didn't like it, but then in discussing some of the points and some of the things, and you know, Daemon turned into a superhero. I forgot that shit. He turned into John Wick in the middle of the damn episode.
Yeah, man,
I forgot that. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. It's like certain episodes of this I could watch again. The last 10 seconds I could watch again. The end of the finale episode remind me of the end of Rogue One. I just want to see Darth Vader come down that damn hallway. I don't give a damn about the rest of that movie.
I mean, if somebody tells me in the first 2 episodes that Rhaenyra goes full Darth Vader, I'll start watching season 2.
So what you doing? You doing 4 mil or 4 binge out?
4 mil for me. 4 mil.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So we got 4 mil. We got 2 4 meals, and we got a snack. That gives our total. So looks like it brought it down to a mini meal.
That's about right.
So average. Yeah.
Yep. 3.33. We'll round that to 3. So we got a mini meal for it.
See, it might be beneficial that Travis wasn't here because I feel like Travis would have gave it full binge out.
For sure.
Yeah.
He would.
Travis, if you out there, they talking about you, man.
Yeah, he talking about me too, because we had we were good friends during the Lord of the Rings, and then all of a sudden, I came back with House of Dragons.
Lord of the Rings was awesome though.
Lord of the Rings was so good.
Oh my God.
But y'all talked me into it. All right, Rakai, you got anything to say before we head out, sir?
No, man, this has been fun. Hopefully it's not my last time, man. This was outstanding. So
come visit again.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Courtney, you got anything before we head out?
Daddy got toes too.
We've had some wines here tonight. Daddy got toes, John Wick of Westeros.
Oh, that's right. T-Love, the Targaryen love.
Targaryen love.
That's it, Targaryen love. We got R. Kelly suing George R. R. Martin for his life story.
I got that T-Love. Yeah.
Daddy got toes too.
Feet of Westeros.
Daddy got toes too.
That's a right.
Daddy got toes too.
That's Sarah Silverman trying to sell toes on her, trying to sell feet pics on her.
Next week we are doing Tales of the Jedi. So Rakai, yeah, man, if you want to come through,
Oh, yeah.
Do that. The Geekish Network, we are a network for people of color. We've got people in front of the camera, behind the camera. We are content creators for people that look like you. So please support us, like us on Facebook, follow us, subscribe to us on YouTube. We're even on Twitch.
I'm sorry for y'all want to know what we laughing at. We just found out that Allison Hightower has an entry on Weirwood Feet Wiki.
We got Mark in the chat. He says he's changing it to a full meal too. So I think we got a few people. Alice.
Look, and Laris is her #1 subscriber.
Oh God.
Them damn strong boys.
Cool. Well, guys, thanks for joining us. See you back next week. Same geek time, same geek channel. Peace.
Next week.
Geek out and good night.